Have you ever tasted something so simple, yet so unforgettable, that no matter how many times you tried to recreate it, it never felt the same? Not because you forgot the recipe, but because something invisible was missing. A quiet kitchen, a worn wooden spoon, and a grandmother who never measured anything, yet never got it wrong. This is not just a story about food, it's about the secrets hidden between generations, the kind that were never written down, but somehow made every meal taste like home. Have you ever wondered why, even when you follow the same recipe, your food never tastes quite like your grandma's? It's not about expensive ingredients, it's about the little tricks, the ones nobody wrote down, the ones learned during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s when nothing was wasted and everything had a purpose. Let's go through them one by one. Crispy chicken without deep frying starts with something simple: baking powder. Mix it with salt and pepper, rub it all over the chicken skin, and bake it. It pulls moisture out and creates tiny bubbles, turning the skin thin, golden, and crunchy, just like rotisserie chicken. Tough cuts of meat were never a problem. A soak in white vinegar and water, 1 part vinegar, 2 parts water, for a few hours breaks down the fibers. Cheap cuts turn tender and juicy without tasting sour. Pancakes weren't always dusted with flour. Sugar worked better. Grease the pan, sprinkle sugar, and let it caramelize in the oven. The cake comes out easily with a golden, slightly crunchy crust. Scrambled eggs didn't need cream. A spoonful of mayonnaise kept them soft and velvety. The oil and egg yolks in it prevented the eggs from turning dry or rubbery. Nothing in the kitchen was wasted. Bacon grease was saved in an old coffee tin and used for cooking vegetables or frying eggs. It added a smoky depth that vegetable oils never could. Some cakes didn't even start in the oven. Butter, cocoa, and sugar were boiled on the stove first, then the dry ingredients were added. The result was a dense, rich texture, somewhere between fudge and cake. Leftovers always had a second life. Mashed potatoes became crispy pancakes the next morning. Just mix with an egg, a little flour, maybe some green onions, and fry them until golden. Pasta water was never thrown away. A cup of that cloudy water added to sauce helped it thicken and cling to the pasta. The starch made everything come together smoothly. Burgers stayed juicy with a hidden trick. A small ice cube pressed into the center of the patty before grilling melted slowly and kept the inside moist. Potato salad had more flavor than just mayo. A splash of pickle juice added tang, depth, and helped the flavor soak into the potatoes. Raw onions didn't have to be harsh. Soaking them in ice water for 10 to 15 minutes removed the sharp bite while keeping the crunch. Mac and cheese had a secret ingredient: a little yellow mustard. Not enough to taste, just enough to balance the richness and bring out the flavor. Coffee didn't have to be bitter. A pinch of salt in the grounds smoothed everything out and made even cheap coffee taste better. No buttermilk? No problem. Milk mixed with a little vinegar or lemon juice, left for a few minutes, worked just the same. Fish stayed tender on the grill with a thin layer of mayonnaise. It locked in moisture and kept it from sticking. Chocolate cake got deeper flavor with one unexpected addition: coffee. It didn't make the cake taste like coffee, just made the chocolate taste richer. Pie crust stayed flaky with a surprising swap. Replace part of the water with vodka. It adds moisture without developing gluten, so the crust stays light. Mashed potatoes turned rich and silky with one extra step: an egg yolk mixed in while still hot. It blended in smoothly and added color and richness. Rice didn't always cook in water. Sometimes it was cooked in coconut milk, giving it a subtle sweetness and creamy texture. Brownies got a boost from something unusual: a small splash of soy sauce. It deepened the chocolate flavor without being noticeable. Soup and sauces often had hidden flavor builders, anchovies, or a little fish sauce melted in, adding richness without any fishy taste. Muffins sometimes had a surprise inside, not frosting, not filling from the store, just peanut butter hidden at the bottom melted into a soft center. Something simple, but unforgettable. There were ways to make food last longer. Milk stayed fresh a little longer with a pinch of baking soda. Herbs from the garden were chopped and frozen in ice cube trays with a bit of oil, ready to be used months later. Nothing was wasted. Even the smallest things had purpose. Salt and sweet pies to balance flavor, sugar and cold water to bring lettuce back to life, a slice of bread to soften hardened brown sugar. And then there were the quiet, almost forgotten habits, pouring hot coffee over stale cake and eating it slowly, adding eggshells to coffee to smooth out the taste, saving every scrap, every drop, every crumb, because someday it would become something else. That's what made those kitchens different. It wasn't just about cooking, it was about paying attention, knowing how ingredients behave, understanding how to fix things when they go wrong. And maybe that's why the food tasted better, not because it was perfect, but because it was thoughtful. So think about it again. What did your grandma make that you still remember today? What was her little trick, the one she never explained? Because chances are, there's still a way to bring it back. And there are still more of those old kitchen secrets waiting to be remembered. And if these old kitchen stories and Grandma's timeless cooking tricks bring back memories for you, take a moment to share your own Grandma's special recipe or secret in the comments. Those are the real treasures worth passing down. Don't forget to like this story if it reminded you of home, and subscribe so these classic forgotten kitchen secrets never fade away. Because there are still more stories, more flavors, and more grandma wisdom left to uncover. The kitchen never really changed, even as the years went by. The same old drawers that stuck a little when you pulled them, the same measuring cups that were rarely used, the same quiet understanding that good food didn't come from perfection, it came from care. There were evenings when dinner was simple, just soup and bread, but somehow it felt like a feast, a pot simmering slowly on the stove, filling the house with a smell that made everyone gather without being called. There were mornings when pancakes weren't perfectly round, and the first one was always a little off, but no one complained because it was warm and it was shared. And there was always that unspoken rule in Grandma's kitchen: nothing goes to waste and everything can become something better. Leftover vegetables turned into soups. Stale bread became something soft again. Even the smallest ingredients had a purpose if you just knew how to use them. That kind of cooking didn't rush. It didn't rely on shortcuts. It paid attention to the sound of sizzling, the color of browning, the smell that told you something was ready. And maybe that's what made it special. Not just the tricks, not just the recipes, but the time, the patience, and the love that quietly went into every meal. Because in the end, the real secret was never hidden in ingredients. It was in the hands that made the food and the heart that served it. And that's something worth remembering. Good cooking feeds the stomach, but thoughtful cooking feeds the soul.
The kitchen in an American home was never just a place to cook. It was where life happened. It was where kids did their homework at the table while something warm simmered on the stove, where Sunday mornings smelled like pancakes and coffee and no one was in a hurry to leave, where holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas didn't just mean food, they meant tradition. There was always something baking, a pie cooling by the window, a casserole wrapped in foil, a pot of soup stretching just enough to feed everyone who showed up. In those moments, it didn't matter if the recipe came from a book or memory. What mattered was that everyone had a seat at the table. Across America, every grandma had her own way of doing things. Some added a little extra butter just because. Some never measured a thing, yet somehow got it perfect every time. Some had that one dish, maybe a meatloaf, a pie, or a pot roast, that no one else could ever recreate. And no matter the state, the city, or the background, the feeling was always the same. Warm, familiar, safe. Because those kitchens weren't built on ingredients alone. They were built on routine, on patience, on showing up every single day to cook for the people you love. Even now, long after those meals are gone, the memory stays. The sound of a spoon stirring, the hum of an old refrigerator, the smell that filled the whole house before dinner was even ready. That's what made it special. And that's why, even today, people still try to recreate those meals, not just for the taste, but to bring back a feeling that once made a house truly feel like home.